Kelly! We're changing lives.
Well, guys, I don't even really know how to introduce this one. For a while, we've been predicting that Dhar Mann videos are gonna get more and more out of touch with reality, more and more hard to defend as really being able to be described as changing lives. And I think we are finally seeing that come to fruition. The Dhar Mann video that we're talking about today might be the hardest one to defend of all time, and it's probably gonna be one that I just have to show you for you to get it, so just bear with me. Now, the video we're watching today is titled Students Executed for Failing Exam, which right off the bat is already pretty wacky, but it gets significantly worse when you realize that this storyline was inspired by, aka stolen, from a movie called The Thinning, which was a movie released almost 10 years ago onto the prestigious platform YouTube Premium. The main character of that movie being Logan Paul. The movie is about a dystopian society where population control is done through a school test where if you don't get a good enough score, you get killed. Now, if that sounds pretty silly to you and also incredibly boring, that's probably because it is. Can't think of a single thing that's less entertaining to watch than a bunch of people taking a test. And that was generally the reception this movie received. It was released at the height of the let's create a dystopian society where teenagers have to go through something where a lot of them will probably end up being killed genre, and it just really missed the mark. So obviously, it makes a great contender for a Dhar Mann video. Now, we could watch this video from like start to finish today, but I don't really think you want to. It's nearly 30 minutes of just a shitty recreation of what's already a shitty movie, and the plot is maybe the most predictable thing you could imagine. The exams are introduced, we learn that if you fail them you get executed, the main characters, guess what? Fail them, and by the end of the movie, by the end of the video, they find out that the wealthy and the powerful are manipulating the test results to keep who they want alive and get rid of who they want to get rid of. That gets exposed, the main characters are saved, and everybody lives happily ever after. It's not exactly a groundbreaking plot, it's about as cookie cutter as you can get for a dystopian film like this. Plus, it's all acted by Dhar Mann actors and directed by Dhar Mann. So there's that as well. So instead of sitting here for 30 minutes, we're gonna go through this as swiftly and as efficiently as possible to point out the things that I think are wrong with this video, which unfortunately for us, there's a lot of. So let's not waste any more time. Let's begin. Please subscribe.
Guards?
What's going on? I didn't fail the test!
You...
Hey, let her go! Hey!
Stop, Carson!
Kelly!
Silence! Unless you want to join them.
Kelly!
I still can't fathom that this is our new reality.
Okay, so as you may have gathered from that super epic intro right there, a war broke out, resources are limited, shit has to change. Super fresh idea, I don't think anybody's ever done it before. But somehow this legislation was passed, where if you don't get a good enough score on a school exam, you're executed. In true Dhar Mann fashion, he's decided to skip all of the world building that The Thinning did, which again is a Logan Paul movie, so applauding that movie for doing something is really kind of an indicator of what we're dealing with here. So we skipped all that world building, and now we just have this random ass legislation that goes into place, and then 3 days later they have to take the test. Seems a little quick for me, but hey, doing any more than that might require some thought.
So if a term contains only one number, right, it's called a constant term, right? Or you could just call it a constant. But polynomials are different, right? They're... Hey, Kelly, come on, math is your best subject.
So tired. I've been studying non-stop.
If I had $1 for every plot hole or continuity error that Dhar Mann included in his videos, I might have enough money to buy the studio. You've been studying non-stop, yet this legislation just went into effect today. Okay, I mean, I guess that makes a lot of sense, right? Also, just so you know, this is the main character and his girlfriend. The main character, his dad, is the governor, who I guess had a lot to do with implementing these new laws. That's the way the video makes it out to be. And the girl is from a poor family, and that's who this test is made to eliminate. They're gonna take like 12 minutes to explain that. That's all you really need to know.
I've been emailing Brooke Masterson.
The Brooke Masterson? The news reporter? Oh, man. My dad hates her.
As crazy as everything's gotten, at least there are still some people trying to do the right thing. Brooke says... She says there's going to be a revolution.
Okay, so again, this legislation literally just went into effect. I don't think revolutions happen that quickly, just saying. Also, it's very important to realize that this is the first time that the test will have ever been conducted. That's gonna make a very crucial part of the plot make zero sense whatsoever. And again, it just makes you wonder if they're gonna copy basically everything from the original movie. Why not just actually copy everything from the original movie? That way, at least it kind of makes sense.
Hey, man.
Hey, sup? Hi, guys. Maya. Can I talk to you for a second? No, really.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so this girl is like selling AI contacts to help students pass the test, I guess. That's another thing that's not going to make any sense once we get down to the end of the video, but that's not important right now. This is a minor nitpick, but not only does this guy look to be 30, he is actually 30. This man is 34 years old, and they were like, you know what? Yeah, that's who we need for a video about high schoolers. Why do people do this?
Everything's gonna be all right.
As headmaster of the school, do you struggle with the obvious moral implications of this recently passed law?
Well, I imagine no more than you struggle with the moral implications of your implicit bias on the matter.
I'm sorry, but do you not see a problem with children being executed at your school?
Turn it off.
If they are failing to meet the state's curriculum, then actually this law serves our society by saving resources for the cream of the crop.
But what about the rumors of the test being biased toward the wealthy?
I said turn it off.
So as you just heard, there are rumors that apparently these tests are going to be biased in favor of the wealthy, which seems to be a slight deviation from the original movie. The movie seems to focus more on like if you're connected or not, like if you have some sort of relation to the government or the elite. This video paints it more as just wealthy versus poor, which is an interesting thing to make a point of to change, because any way they would have done it, with the way they decided to present this story, it wouldn't have made sense. These tests are being administered for the first time. How are there rumors about anything when nobody has taken a test yet? How is there anything to uncover? How are there any rumors? How are there any theories when the test hasn't been taken by a single person yet and nothing has been done to a single person yet? That's why this decision by Dhar Mann to make this the first time the tests have ever been taken makes no sense whatsoever.
It's a contact lens. I made it myself. It's linked to full AI with access to information in real time. And there's a neural link, so any answers to any question is literally right in front of your eyes. Or eye.
Wow. You gonna use one?
If I'm smart enough to come up with something like this, then I'm pretty confident I don't need it.
Neil?
Neil's gonna be okay. Besides, I only have one left, so.
Why didn't you give one to Kelly?
Carson, I know that you're crazy about her, but she doesn't have the money. Okay, and these things aren't exactly cheap to make. I just can't give tech away like this, even if she is a good friend. I'm sorry.
Okay, so again, I feel like there's just never a moment when these videos are being written where everybody comes together and they're like, all right, let's do a quick read through and make sure that the characters aren't saying things that will directly contradict things they say later in the video. Again, this is the girl selling these contact lenses. Just keep in mind that she says they're not cheap to make and that she can't afford to give one away. Anyways, he ends up buying it for his girlfriend and then they take the test.
Now, the test results will be tallied live. So by the end of this class, we will have our results. You may start now. Guards.
What's going on? I didn't fail the test.
Neil.
Hey.
Okay, so another nitpick, but I just noticed stuff like this. They all came in with like nothing. I don't even think they were wearing backpacks. They took the test on their little glass iPad thing. Where did all these notebooks come from? Why are they all using pen and paper now? Like I remember in middle school, they used to let us like draw on the back of certain tests, but I don't know. I feel like this is probably not that kind of situation where they're like, okay, once you get done with your execution test, if you want to whip out a journal and do some doodling, feel free. Like that seems like that's probably not what's happening here. So explain the notebooks, please.
What happened?
I don't know.
You're so smart, you don't know what happened?
I told you, I don't know.
Is it possible that your little gadget didn't work?
Everyone else did okay.
Maybe you sold me a dud.
I wouldn't do that.
Maybe you didn't know you did.
Look, I'm sorry things happened the way they did, okay? But I have my own problems to worry about, okay?
Sure, it's all about you, isn't it? No, you're right. I'm sorry. It's not like you care about actual people as long as you get your money, right?
I don't care about people. You have no idea what I'm going through.
Okay. So why don't you fill me in?
Fine. You see, after Dad was killed in the war, it was only Mom and I. It was a struggle, but we got by. Dumb fate took my dad early, but dumb fate also made me a genius. But you don't have to be a genius to see that what was going on in our world was totally messed up. I wasn't going to just stand by and let that happen. So I made these contacts and planned on giving them to students for free. Then Mom got sick. Never quite recovered. Got worse and wound up in the hospital. And unlike you, we were poor. I didn't have the money to pay for the treatment Mom needed. So I started selling the contacts. I had to. I needed the money. The only reason I did was to make money to save my mom's life.
Okay, so this is what I was referring to when earlier I said they never seem to care about plot holes or continuity errors. So she said that she wasn't planning on giving them away, even though she just said that's exactly what she was planning to do. And like, look, I get it. Your mom needs treatment, but that doesn't really make sense with the timeline we've been given. She describes her mom as getting sick and never really getting better. That implies that she's been sick for a while. These tests have existed for 3 days. Coming from a person who's from a family with no money, when were you planning on giving these contacts away? Because it seems like you would have only made these contacts once you knew these tests were going to be a part of society, and since the law just passed, your mom definitely had to have been sick while people were talking about putting these tests into schools, so when were you planning on giving them away? You know what I mean? Like, it just doesn't really make a whole lot of sense how this is lining up, and it's really not even that significant of the plot, but it's just like, why? Why include this with this little forethought when none of it's gonna make any sense? Anyways, the video gets extraordinarily fucking stupid after this, so we're gonna speedrun it, okay? After this guy hacks into his dad's emails where all of the evil plots are just laid out in plain English. No encryption, no secure server. These government officials are just emailing each other back and forth on Gmail accounts saying shit like, hey, this guy's talking a little bit too much, let's kill him. This leads him to go to the smart girl who hacks into the school system and finds that, surprise, the test scores are not being presented accurately, and they're saying that people who actually passed failed so they can execute them. Then, somehow, in a way that is not explained to us, I wish I was joking, right before the students who, quote, failed are executed, an emergency broadcast comes on saying that evidence has been found that the test scores are being manipulated and that officials were bribed. We see that the characters were able to hack into the emails and find all of this stuff, but there was like no mention or explanation as to how they got this information out. I guess we're just expected to use our imagination. But everybody's saved. The mean dad and the headmaster go to prison immediately because obviously, in a dystopian society where wealthy people are able to create exams that kill off poor children, those same wealthy people probably wouldn't have any way to get out of doing time for a crime. Makes sense. Then, in what might be the dumbest part of the video, the smart girl goes to visit her mother, and guess what? She has miraculously recovered. How? You may ask. Well, it's because the guy in the glasses was approached by that journalist he was talking about, became a famous journalist overnight for doing literally nothing. I think the only thing we saw was him write on a piece of paper during the exam, saying some bullshit like we have to fight back, you know, really groundbreaking stuff, and he somehow made so much money off of that that he was able to pay out of pocket all the expenses for this experimental medicine that this girl's mother needed. And then, yeah, the mother recovered like instantly. So, what have we learned? What we learned today was that somehow Dhar Mann was able to take a movie whose main character is Logan Paul and make it worse. At some point, it just becomes impressive, guys. Well, guys, what do you think? Do you think we should sit here and criticize Dhar Mann for doing things like completely abandoning what he said the original goal for his channel was, plagiarizing movies, stealing other people's work? Or should we sit here and applaud him for being able to make a video this bad when, like we talked about, the source material was a fucking Logan Paul movie? Like, really, I think there's a pretty solid argument for either one there. I don't really understand what Dhar Mann is doing these days. I guess at some point you just start running out of ideas. You can only make so many These Will Shock You videos. But I mean, if you're gonna do this, if you're just gonna recreate movies, you're just gonna steal concepts and do them over again, why not just do that with your old videos? It's not like your audience is gonna remember. They're all like 7 years old. I don't know why he doesn't just start taking the videos that he made a couple of years ago and just start recreating them as 30 minutes of nonsense like he does with everything else. Doesn't really make sense to me. Objectively, it would be more respectable because at least it's your ideas you're stealing. Just picking a new movie every week to completely steal? Not the coolest thing ever. But this is Dhar Mann, so he's gonna continue to do it, and his audience probably isn't gonna care. So why do I waste my breath? See ya.